Biggest fear is losing everything I have worked so hard for later in life. What's your biggest fear? Drowning, getting stuck in some tight place and asphyxiating/dying of hunger in there, or getting steamed to death. That's pretty much the shared first place. I almost drowned once. Lifeguard happened to be watching me and helped me out, or I wouldn't have made it. I think about that a lot. I'm 34 years old and was very close to drowning last year. Got dumped out of a canoe and was pinned against a tree in a current. I pulled myself out, and it took about every bit of upper body strength I had. Didn't even really realize the severity of it while it was happening, because if my head had stayed under, I was done for. A person of smaller stature would have been in very serious trouble in the same situation. I think about it a lot too, usually when I'm trying to go to sleep. Biggest fear is losing everything I have worked so hard for later in life. I watched my parents work hard, do everything right, build wealth, and then almost towards their 50s my father got sick, lost his job, and now struggle to make ends. They had to sell anything that had any value to them. Now they just go through life with seemingly little enjoyment because they had everything set, and in a blink of an eye it was gone and probably never come back. This is honestly my greatest fear too. I grew up in relative poverty, have been homeless, and had substance issues. I've worked my ass off to be where I am now. The thought of one small thing bringing it all tumbling down and going back to that absolutely terrifies me. I think the worst thing is that you can't put your mind at ease, because what if? I hope you get some moments of peace. Memory loss. Literally everything I know in my life is memories. When I started to have memory problems, it super freaked me out. Now it's a little easier. I surround myself with trusted people and write everything down. Memory is important, but if you take care of yourself and find ways to keep them externally, it can help a lot. Memory books, notes, friends. After I suffered a stroke, I found that I had memory problems, both short-long term. I solved the short-term memory problems by writing things down, thank goodness for smartphones and note-taking apps, because my handwriting got worse because of the stroke, but I can't remember some parts of my childhood. I found out that I can remember some parts with picture triggers, but when I look at some pictures, I blank on even where that place was. I'm only 35 years old. I'm not supposed to age this fast, and now I feel like I need a hug, but I can't because of the coronavirus pandemic. Being one of those people who dies alone in their home and doesn't get found for weeks or more, because they have no one who cares enough to notice they're not around anymore. What happened to my uncle is possibly even worse. You may not want to read this. He was in his early 60s and lived by himself. Then one day he had a stroke at home. I don't know if that killed him right away, but it's possible that he just laid there without being able to move for a while, maybe days, before he died. After a week, the paperboy noticed that his papers were piling up even though his truck was still in the driveway, and called the police to check on him. I really hope the stroke did kill him right away, because it would be horrible if he laid there in pain and fear for days, being unable to do anything except slowly die. That was almost 20 years ago though. The ocean and cliffs/high edges. An old friend of my sister just recently went missing on a hike. They searched for him for 5 days and assumed that he fell somewhere and died. They couldn't even find his body. I was never afraid of heights until this morning when I found out. This is why I always carry a personal locator beacon with me when I'm hiking. Both in case I get into that kind of situation and in case I come across somebody else who is in deep trouble. It is a huge comfort to have that emergency signal just one button press away, particularly when hiking or camping alone. Also, it is important to keep in mind that day hikes are the most dangerous ones, because you prepare less when you go in expecting a short hike. So if anything goes wrong, then you are poorly prepared to deal with the emergency. Always bring the beacon and extra water, even for short excursions. Edit, because people have been asking, the PLB that I carry is the AskReddit link. Not affiliated in any way. Rabies. You're fine one moment, and then the next day you have a headache. Turns out you got infected on that camping trip 6 years ago, and it's been hiding in you ever since. Now that you have a headache, it's in your brain and you're already dead. There's next to nothing doctors can do except put you in a coma and say a prayer, but odds are nearly 100% that if you do survive that you're a vegetable or nearly one. You experience incredible pain, irrational hydrophobia, manic behavioral changes, and a total loss of motor control near the end. It's got to be one of the most humiliating, dehumanizing and terrifying ways to go, and it can happen just like that. Rabies is terrifying. This is why it's important to find out if rabies is prevalent where you are and what animals carry it so that you can get vaccinated before symptoms set in. The onset of any symptoms means it's too late, but if you get the vaccine within a few hours of exposure, I think 24 usually, you're good. One of the biggest issues is bats. Their bites can be small enough that you might not even notice it. Any exposure to wild bats warrants a call to your doctor. Other animals might hurt you worse, but at least you know, you're much more likely to realize it if a raccoon or something bites you lol. Source: I was really scared of rabies for a while. That I may suffer a debilitating injury or degenerative neurological disorder and be incapable of taking my own life if I deem it necessary. There was about a week where I thought I had rapidly progressing MS, and in that time I realized everything I worked for in life was actually making me unhappy, and I turned it all around. Then I found out I was going to be okay for a long time. But I'm thankful for the panic, because now I've realized what really matters to me. I admire Stephen Hawking, but I don't think I could live like he did. I also read that he tried to kill himself by holding his breath, but as soon as your body relaxes you start breathing again. I've agreed with my family to let me die if I become quadriplegic or something similar. Not being alive anymore, the finality. I'm not afraid of dying, the act of it, anyway. I'm not afraid of what comes next. I've not bothered myself with that one. What I'm afraid of is being done. Here one day, then gone. Not able to do anything else. I cannot add it into better words. That's how suffocating the anxiety of being gone is for me. Maybe it would be better if I were religious and believed in an afterlife, but the best I can do is convince myself that I believe your personal energy spreads to other beautiful things in life when you pass. But the mind just being done. That is truly frightening to me. What gets me is the inevitability. Even when I freak out about not existing anymore, there's a part of my brain that still eventually stops me from believing it'll really happen, but it's the only thing I know for sure is going to happen to me in the future. Knowing that I can't do a damn thing to avoid that moment freaks me out. I can do things try to give me more distance from that moment, but it's slowly coming for me. I hate that the cliff is always at the end of my road and I can't turn away.